Thanks, everybody, for coming out. It's kind of wrapping up the Mississippi State game. Start with our players of the game. This is becoming extremely repetitive, but our O-lineman of the week was Trey Zune. Defensive lineman Albert Regis, who, again, just kind of continues to be a really, really solid anchor in the middle of our defense this year. Probably one of our most unsung standouts on the season to this point. And then Cassius Howell. I thought Cassius Howell was really disruptive, played a good game. We asked a little bit more of him from a coverage standpoint. I thought he gave us a lot of value doing that. Offensive player of the game was Jabri Barber. Obviously, his best game of the year. I thought he made a ton of really critical plays for us on third down, especially when the game was very much at stake. Scooby Williams was our defensive player of the week. Thought he really impacted the game. The interception and the 4th and 1 were obviously two extremely critical plays that he made. And then Solomon DeShields was our special teams player of the week. And just another example, another kid in our program who is just continuing to fit into his role, maybe not the ideal role, maybe not the role he dreamed of, but is going out and making impact plays to help us win football games. And so, when you look back at it, I think, we kind of talked this way after the game, and I think it played out this way. Sometimes you don't have your best stuff, and you got to find a way to win, and we did. We lost the turnover battle, which is not a good recipe on the road. We didn't win the fourth quarter, which is not a good recipe for success. We had a bad 2-minute drive at the end of the half on defense. We had a bad 4-minute drive at the end of the game on offense, and still found a way. And I think that's a testament to the grit and the toughness of the group, that in that environment, you could not be playing your best football and still find a way to win. I do think there were still a lot of positives to take out of the game. I just thought in some critical moments when we could have taken control of the game, we just didn't. But offensively, we still had 31 points through our first 6 drives. We were 5 of 6 in terms of scoring. 4 of those were touchdowns. And so that's extremely productive, and that we just didn't finish. 3 of the last 4 drives just didn't finish the way we wanted to. Defensively, I talked about this. The first and last drive of the first half were not our best football. But I thought everything in between, we played pretty well on defense, and certainly limited the explosive passing game more so than some other teams had, but maybe just got a little softer in the run than we would have liked, and gave up some explosive runs in the beginning of the game that we had to tighten up. And I thought our red zone touchdown efficiency on defense really slanted that. It was the first time all year really where we were bad in the red zone. We gave up 3 touchdowns in 4 trips, and so all of a sudden now it's a 24-point game instead of a 17-point game, and I think that plays a big difference in the outcome. And then I thought, special teams, that was probably our most solid effort. We maybe didn't have the standout play other than stopping the fake punt, but I think we're starting to understand the special teams game, the system a little bit. We didn't give up that big negative that we've kind of had to overcome in some of our other games, and so I thought special teams-wise, we took a big step forward. And so on to next week, which is a really, really big week. My older son starts his World Series, so he's got game 1 and 2 of the World Series. My younger son is playing for the conference title in a battle of unbeatens back in Apex, North Carolina. My daughter and wife are going to Taylor Swift in New Orleans, and so that's probably all we got going on this week. I joke, obviously. Not about any of those things. Those things are actually all real. Obviously, looking ahead to LSU, it's going to be a huge challenge. It's going to be a great environment. It's going to be an opportunity for us to go out there and show we belong on this stage, and have taken this program where we all thought we wanted it to go. It's a great opportunity. It's a great venue. They're a great team. We're a talented team. It's going to be a lot of fun. And so looking forward to Saturday, looking forward to a great environment in Kyle. I know our people will show out, and it'll be electric, and spend the week doing the best we can to go play our best football. And so from there, we'll kind of open it up to questions.
Front left, Cease, then Brent.
So, Mike, how has LSU adjusted with Harold Perkins out? A lot of people thought their defense would go down. What have they done without him?
Yeah, it's a hard question to answer. I got a lot of respect for Harold, and Harold's a great player, and so I don't mean this in a bad way, but they've obviously taken huge strides forward the last 2 weeks. I don't think that's indicative of him not being in there, but I think sometimes when your best player or your most talented player goes down, sometimes everyone else sort of elevates themselves around it. And I think they're playing really good football. Obviously, Whit Weeks has taken on the challenge of stepping into that role. He's been about as productive as a linebacker could be the last 2 weeks, and so I think everyone around him has just stepped up.
Front right, Brent, then Alex.
When you had time to go back and look at the tape, Connor had the 2 interceptions, almost had 2 more. What were his issues in that game? It seemed like he had time when you go back and moving forward in terms of what he needs to clean up.
Yeah, I think he has some plays he just wish he had back. I think each one is kind of each of its own. The first one, I don't know if it slipped or sailed. It was hard to tell, but it certainly wasn't an accurately thrown football. The second one was late, and then I think he just got out of whack with his progression on the other 2 that probably could have been picked. And so, but I also do think like a piece of football is not every throw is going to be right. And so I don't know that you ever come out of a game without things to fix or correct. And so it's kind of where we're at with that.
Then a Terry Bussey update, and kind of a goofy question, I guess, but when you play Mississippi State, there was a lot of maroon and white going on, mixing and matching. Ever consider going all white versus all maroon and talk to maybe the coach about that or something?
No, honestly, I haven't really thought anything about that. Probably a good idea. Yeah, probably a good idea. But and then Terry's fine. Terry'll be fine this week.
To the left, Alex, and then Travis.
So do you have a favorite Taylor Swift song?
I'm not going down that road. I can get myself in a lot of trouble on that one. I'm gonna leave that one alone. Good question though.
Fair enough. Obviously, LSU's got a really strong passing game. Just from your perspective, what makes Nussmeier such an effective thrower, and particularly Lacey a threat at receiver?
Yeah, I think Nussmeier can make every throw, and I think he's a testament to kind of doing this the right way. You see so many kids. I think one of the things you're noticing now, 3 years into the transfer portal, is so many kids are jumping around, and when you're jumping around, you're not getting better. When you have to relocate, you have to reestablish yourself, you have to learn a new system, you've got to learn a new place. Like, it's hard to improve in your first year in an uncomfortable environment. It's almost like being a freshman 3 straight years when you keep bouncing around. I think he has stayed the course. I think he's really comfortable in their system. I think he's grown and developed. He's gotten his opportunities over the first couple years when the opportunities presented themselves, and I think that's prepared him to come into this stage this year and really be their leader. And he can throw the ball over the field. He's got a tremendous arm. I think he's got a lot of moxie. You could see that in him. Obviously raised in a family of quarterbacks, and that sticks out on tape. And and then in terms of Lacey, he's an extremely electric, dynamic receiver, and he can make a ton of plays. But I also think when you look at the group is so talented that, like we talked about this in the beginning of the year, like the hardest thing is they've got a clearly established number one, but they also have 3 other people, including a tight end, who can flat out beat you if you don't pay them the appropriate attention too. And so it makes the passing game extremely dynamic and productive for him.
Front right, Travis.
Some people, when the 12-team playout came out, said that it would undervalue the regular season. With this game coming up, with some of the games you had, does that feel like it maybe punches some holes in an argument like that?
Yeah, for sure. I think, I don't know that internally we ever thought that. I thought it would be the exact opposite. I thought there would be more teams playing more meaningful games. I think as you talk to your teams and your programs, you're seeing like more coaches reference it. Because when it was a 4-team play, I was talking to somebody about this a couple weeks ago, one of the TV crews. Like when it was a 4-team playoff, you basically went into the season kind of prepared on how you were going to get knocked out of the playoff race early and you had to keep going, right? And so you kind of never talked about it because you were so far removed from being in a 4-team playoff race. Now that you're 12, I mean, you're talking about 24, 26, 28 teams still viably alive to find a way into the 12. And so now it becomes a little bit more like you lose a game early, you can still keep your goals. Our playoff hopes are still in front of you. Just you see a little bit more of that verbiage and rhetoric being used. And so I think there's more teams that are still alive. I think there's probably, 8 teams in the SEC, maybe more, that are still alive to be in the playoff. That's never really been the case in previous years. And so, I think it puts a lot of magnitude, on a lot of different games. You look even at like Alabama, Missouri this weekend. right? That's almost a similar type game in terms of playoff importance. This game has tremendous playoff importance, and so I just think you see those more and more.
And Scooby, when he's come in here, has been pretty fun to get to hear and talk. What is he like off the field in the conversations you had with him?
Yeah, I mean, he's got a tremendous personality. He's got a great kid. He's really bright. I think him and I spent the spring getting to know each other a little bit, and I think really came to a really good spot coming out of spring where I think he started to understand me a little bit more, I understood him a little bit more, and I think our relationship has really grown over the summer through the fall. And like I said after the game, and it really, like, everyone noticed it because he made a few more impact plays, but he's been really good for us this year, like really good. And so it was good to see him make some plays that kind of got him a little bit more attention on a bigger stage for himself.
And Chase Bisontis update?
Yeah, not yet.
Fourth row on the left, Rob.
Howdy, Coach.
Howdy.
With you mentioning about the 12 team, you guys have gone a different route. Lost early, fell out of the top 25, and have had to really work hard to get back into it. Whereas some of these teams at the top, they lose, they fall a little bit. So you guys have really had to battle, and now you've left very little room for error. But the team has a ton of confidence now that you've won a couple of road games. Talk about the team's confidence and how that plays into knowing that there's no room for error. You got to rock and roll to make that top 12.
Yeah, I think anytime you have success, you have confidence, and I think they go hand in hand. And I think making sure that the confidence stays rooted in the process that leads to success is something that I think is really, really critical. And continuing to talk through with our guys what they're doing on a day-to-day basis to allow them to play well, what they're maybe missing on a day-to-day basis that causes some issues for them in terms of playing to their best ability. I think that's probably where the focus is. In terms of like the top 25 question, I laugh because the top 25 is so irrelevant until the playoff rankings come out, and it'll be funny to watch the whole thing get blown up because, and that's always been the nature of polls, right? Like, now more than ever, who has any idea who's any good? Like, we start 11 transfers right now. Like, who did the research to figure out how talented that group of 11 transfers was going to be? And how, like, nobody. And that's okay. Like, that's just the nature of college football today. And so going into it, like, even as coaches, like, going into those early games, like, we're watching film from like 9 different colleges to try to get ready for schools. And you don't know how it's all going to come together. You don't know what it's all going to play out like. And so I don't know that there's any clarity on a team's true ability until you start hitting week 8, 9, and you start to see more of a product, more of a season-long package to say, okay, that team is really good. They should be 1, or that team should be, and so the preseason stuff and the in and out of the 25, that to me is nowadays more than ever really irrelevant.
Third row on the right, David, then Donna.
Mike, you alluded to this a moment ago a little bit, but as the stakes get bigger and it gets louder, how do you keep a locker room to not focus on the chatter and to focus on the 6 inches ahead?
Yeah. Conversation is the best you can do. I told them this, like, we're trying to expedite this process for ourselves. We're in a really good spot. We're in a really good opportunity. We want to take advantage of where we are. A lot of times you see on the rise up, you have to learn through failure. We're trying to not do that, right? And so I think that's got their attention, right? Like teach me how to get through this and navigate this the right way so that we don't have to go, okay, well, this is, and then come back, and then come back, right? We don't want to be that program. We want to be the program that hits it when we have our opportunity. And so I just think it's constant conversation about, like, where success comes from. Like, we spend so much time talking about, like, where success comes from. You can spend this whole week thinking about the play you're going to make, the celebration, like, what you're going to look like in the like. Or you can spend the whole week focusing on all of the things that are going to help you have success on Saturday. And it's just kind of trying to shift their eyes every single day in that lane and stay there as long as humanly possible with the strong knowledge that they're 18 to 23. And it's an ongoing process for us.
Back behind the lights to the left, Donna, then right next to Tyler.
Coach Brian Kelly spoke pretty highly of you at SEC Media Days. Just What does he do well as a head coach, and is there anything that you learned during your time with him?
Oh yeah, I learned a lot. You know, Brian's a really, really successful head coach that, you know, maybe isn't into the huge self-promotion business. You know, he's the winningest coach in Notre Dame football history. I don't know that that's something that rolls off of everyone's tongue, and so he's been successful everywhere he's been. You know, he kind of had a similar, my defensive coordinator path kind of married his head coach path, right? It started D2, worked its way all the way up through. He had success kind of everywhere he went. And so, you know, yeah, a ton of respect for him, who he is. Certainly appreciate him giving me the opportunity he did to be the defensive coordinator at Notre Dame. And he's a really good coach. He does a really good job getting the best out of his team.
Right next, Donna Tyler, back behind the lights.
Mike, you did say, you know, with the 12-team playoff, so many more teams kind of in the mix. Do you look at maybe similarities with LSU's team, the way that your guys' kind of paths have gone to this point? I mean, both losing the first game, but have you know, won every since. And then just how have you seen kind of LSU's growth as a team getting to this point?
Yeah, you know, I think eerily similar, right? In some ways, you know, both had a big stage in the opener. Both played a really close game all the way down to the fourth quarter, and didn't make the plays at the end that they needed to be successful. And you know, probably in some ways both got written off a little bit, and then just went to work to get better and improved every week, and continued true to their process and believing in who they were. And then again, all of a sudden you pick your head up and here you are, and that's usually where success comes from, when you do things like that. And so, you know, in terms of where they've gotten better, I don't know. Those things are always hard to measure, because you just kind of look at this whole body of work that they have, and you see this extremely talented team. And so I don't know that I study closely exactly where they came up short against USC versus where they didn't against Ole Miss. You know, I just think they're extremely talented. I think they've gotten more and more comfortable on defense with the system. I think Blake Baker does a great job, and I think they're each week getting more and more comfortable in what he's asking him to do. The quarterback certainly is getting more comfortable as a starter. You know, that was his first, you know, season going into the season as the established starter. It wasn't his first start, but it was the first season he was the established starter. And so I just think some of the natural progression of growth you've seen from them start to finish.
Second row on the right, Carter, then Olin.
We saw Nick Scourton come in and out of the game. Just how's he doing? And also Jayvon Thomas as well.
Yeah, Jayvon's good. Jayvon's just battling some stuff that comes with wear and tear of football. Nick was sick last week, and so he really didn't get nutrition, hydration the way he needed to. He was having a hard time over the weekend keeping stuff down, and so he was cramping in the game. And he was cramping because he was ill, but he pushed through, and so he'll be fine.
And then we saw a lot more of B.J. Mays in the game. Just what's he kind of showed you to get some more playing time?
Yeah, I think obviously, you know, we talked about, you know, needing to fill a hole when Tyreek went down, and that one kind of getting thrust on us pretty quickly. And, you know, I think BJ just continues to get more and more comfortable. I think obviously being a physical cover corner, he's got the ability to go in there and play some man-to-man on slots and play it at a good level. I think he's getting more and more comfortable playing in there. You know, it's new. It was new to him, like we discussed. And I think each week he just gets a little bit more and more comfortable in there. And so I think he's giving us really good snaps and really good reps right now.
Second row on the right, Olin.
Yeah, Coach, obviously, you know, the pass rush has been a big a plus for Texas A&M this year. They have what I hear is like maybe as good as tackle tandem as there is in the country. So is there a better position-by-position matchup, and what could you envision for that, you know, going on there this weekend?
No, I think it's a great matchup. I kind of joked with our guys this morning. I said, there's $10 million cash on the line this weekend. Someone's going to go get it. So if you want it, it's yours. But yeah, no, it'll be a great matchup. It'll be a lot of fun. I think that's what happens in these types of games, right? You see these high-level players on both sides of the ball for both programs that get a chance to go up and go head-to-head against each other. And so, you know, that's certainly one. And, you know, I think our running backs against their linebackers is another. Their wideouts, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of those types of matchups when you look at the game.
Back behind the lights on the right side, Ben, and then Chip.
Austin, knock on wood question this week. You guys 4-0 in the SEC for the second time. What's been the key for you guys to, I mean, you've been here for some SEC seasons, the challenge of kind of being able to have that consistent start to the year in league play?
Yeah, thank you for bringing that up, AC.
I know.
Second time.
Yes, I screwed up.
Yeah, we got that a little wrong on Saturday. I
That's
apologize
my
for
fault.
that, but that's
AC's
okay.
fault.
But no, yeah, I think the challenge is the week in, week out in this league. I think you cannot help but get in situations where the game's on the line coming down the stretch, right? And your ability to make those plays, to come out on the right end of those games, is everything. And it's not to say we've got that recipe right or don't have that recipe right, but like that's just the SEC football. You see it all over this conference. It comes down to the fourth quarter. Whatever it is, whoever's playing, and someone makes a play and someone doesn't, and all of a sudden you get a result. And the result shifts things so drastically. But what creates the result is, something really small. And so it's a hard league to navigate because of that. There's not a lot of easy paths. Going on the road in this league is tremendously challenging, no matter who, no matter where, it doesn't matter. You saw the atmosphere on Saturday, in Starkville. And so that's just SEC football. And so it's a challenging road to navigate.
And just curious if you've seen any similar concepts from the Notre Dame game week 1 with Coach Denbrock and the LSU offense they have this year. I know obviously Coach Kelly's still down there. Anything, especially for the guys who maybe played in that game last year, that they can carry over, had a little bit of practice?
Yeah, I think there's some similarities. Obviously, Coach Kelly's an offensive guy, and so there's certainly his feel on the offense, and certainly a large part of that staff remained behind, and so they obviously have their parts of that offense that they still like. Obviously, then they also have their own taste and their own spin, and now they're trying to adapt it to this group of players and make it as successful as it can be for the talent they have on hand. And so, I don't know that we can draw a lot from the last year's game, but certainly you have some awareness of how that all looked, how they tried to attack you, and you try to use that to kind of predict what it'll look like.
Chip, you'll wrap us up.
Mike, you talked last week about the importance of winning the turnover battle. In the quarterback play especially, how do you balance the fact that, you want him to take care of the ball, but he's not thinking so much about doing things that he's focused on that instead of the progression in front of it?
I just want to take care of the ball. I think you talk about we trust Connor, and Connor should trust himself because he's really talented. And so we want him to trust his eyes, go through his progressions, and make the throws that he's capable of making. And we just talk a lot about what causes turnovers, where do turnovers come from, and trying to eliminate them as best we can. And he knows he's got to protect the football. We certainly, we threw the ball coming out of our own end zone twice. We threw the ball after he threw the second pick. We're not shying away from throwing the football. That's not how we go about not turning it over. But I just think there's certain things when you go through the progressions that you're trying to instill in him. Timing, rhythm, speed, eyes, those types of things that can protect the football. And he's been really good at it for the most part, and needs to kind of shake off a couple bad ones from last week.
Thanks for your time, Coach.
Yep, thanks, guys.